Hey, and welcome to Property Mastermind podcast with Hilary Saxton. This week, episode 33, a property chat with the legendary Bob Anderson. Bob and I thought we'd just sit down and have a yarn and see what great information we might come up with. The guy's a legend, knows so much, so let's jump into episode 33. Hey, and welcome to episode 33, Property Development Chat with Bob Anderson. Welcome, Bob.
Thanks. Great to be back.
Be back. Great to be back yet again. Hey, before we get started, it's the 20th of January today, and tonight's free Australia-wide goal setting for anybody who wants to join. There'll be a link below. There's no upsell. I just take people. I am a proper coach, so I'll take you through a goal setting session if you are interested in joining. It's how take 1 hour out of your life. You've got limited time to sign up, and you'll be sent a link, and I'll just walk you through it. So if you'd like to actually set yourself some goals for 2022 and beyond, be on that 7 p.m. Sydney time this evening. Anyway, enough about that, Bob. Before we get started, I would like to say, here first.
Here first.
So this week I'm giving away a free coaching session to Adrian Dragakov. Adrian sent me an email, and good on you. Sometimes when you ask, you shall receive. He asked me if he could have a session if I had any time in my busy schedule, and I thought, you know what, why not? I like to sort of help people on their journey. So Adrian, I'll be reaching out to you, and you'll get a free coaching session with me. So I hope you find that useful.
I know he will.
He will. I know.
Plenty others have.
Yeah, I know.
Could change your life.
It will change your life. Yes. Yeah.
Change mine.
Yeah, well, there you go. So property chat, Bob, where are we starting?
Well, I don't know. This was your idea. Now, you said let's have a off-the-cuff, almost unprepared chat, and I'm not sure what I'm up for. I don't know where you're going to lead this.
Where would you like to start?
Oh, I don't care. Look, hey, it's your show. Speaking of which, look at your hair. How good does that look?
Thanks, Bob.
I can't believe I saw some photos the other day, like before last Christmas.
Yes.
And there you were with your long black locks, almost to your waist.
I did have hair to my waist. Now it's like the same length as yours.
Pretty much, yeah. You probably go to a better hairdresser than me. But you sort of forget, don't you? You know, you just get used to things. Like I'm so used to you with the shorter hair now. And you're probably the most attractive presenter of property in Australia.
Oh, hey.
You don't know what to say to that,
No,
do
I
you?
don't. I actually, it's not very often I'm stuck for words, but there you go, you had me. Crikey.
Gotcha.
Well, I suppose that was the whole COVID change for me, and change, like we did that because we moved to the ocean so we could fish more and swim more, and then I thought, well, if I'm going to live by the ocean, the last thing I need is long hair.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly your hair, it's so thick and healthy.
Yeah, so now it's the same length of yours, but this isn't really about hair. It's supposed to be
this
about
is not a
property.
hair thing.
But while we're talking about that, I suppose there's been a lot of change, like that was that change. What about the changes that have happened in the property development space in the last 12 months?
Wow, yeah. You know, last 12 months, what's happened? Well, we've seen enormous growth.
Enormous.
Just in the residential sector, particularly housing, in the first 6 months. And still strong in the second 6 months of 2021, but not to the same degree, not to the same percentage growth, but solid stuff. I mean, as you know, I've been around a long time, almost 4 decades in the property industry, and it is unique, that sustained growth that we've seen.
Is that the biggest one you've seen, Bob?
It'll go close to the biggest jump, but particularly if you look at the time, you know, how much things went up. I think Sydney went up something like 22% in the first 6 months.
Whoa.
Now, that's pretty incredible. But these are exceptional times. You know, I haven't been through a pandemic previously. I've been through plenty of recessions, and we really haven't had one.
No.
It's a bit of a laugh, a bit of a joke when people used to talk about the pending recession.
During the start of the COVID
it was
thing.
never going to happen. But no, I mean, I've been through lots of ups and downs, probably 5 property cycles. Certainly into some serious recessions in the early 90s, but never gone through a pandemic before.
And look what happens in a pandemic when it comes to property development.
Yeah.
Not just the price,
Yeah.
like the whole lack of stock, you know, builders not having, you know, the stock they require to build with, like the product.
A lot of stock.
Materials
steel,
is the word I'm after.
Material, steel, timber, everything, and tradies as well. But I've seen property booms, I've seen building booms, but it's a worldwide phenomenon. There's a building boom all over the world.
Crazy. crazy. Why would it have caused a building boom, Bob? Sorry to throw you in it with no preparation.
I don't know. I think part of it, not all of it, is the fact that people were scared during the whole COVID thing and not really knowing what was going to happen, and there's all sorts of horror stories were going out there. And I think at the end, and I mean, it's not totally over, but people were so relieved that, you know, the world didn't fall in on their heads and, you know, health-wise.
Aliens didn't turn up and take us away in their spaceships.
No, none of that happened. And then there's sort of this bit of a euphoric thing and coming out of lockdowns again, and you know, that's part of it. There was a lot of government incentives. The $25,000 incentive from the government that really lit a fire under house construction rather than medium density townhouses and that sort of thing. It just really put a fire under that. First homeowners, hang
on, I don't think you should say put a fire under housing. But anyway.
What I mean is lit it up, lit it up in a big way. And for a while there, almost 40% of all new mortgages were to first homeowners. It all came off the back of like a pandemic. It came off the back of a lot of government incentives. And so that's
to stimulate the economy.
Yeah, well, that's not normal market forces at work. I mean, there almost weren't any market forces at work in a way. Yeah, so, anyway, there you go.
Hey, how would you like to improve 2022? On the 20th of January at 7 p.m. Sydney time, I hold a free goal-setting session Australia-wide to absolutely anybody. You can share this with a friend. There is no upsell. There is no product launch. Will you just register below and I will send you a link a couple of days prior and probably the day of it. You jump on and you spend 1 hour of your life planning your future. If you'd like to join us, click the link below. And also I think the people that had, like us moving to the beach, because that was always something we were going to do, but it made us think, you know what, let's go now. And I think in the property development space, a lot of people who had previously thought, I'll do that at some point, and then saw the threat of their income, you know, being potentially lost, or the realisation that we have to do stuff we want to do now rather than waiting for the ideal time or another time. I think that it not woke people up, but I think gave the jolt that people thought, we are doing this now. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people had plans, in 10 years' time we'll sell up and we'll move here, or when we retire we'll sell up and move here. And that sort of threat to your life, which wasn't really a threat to your life all that much. And people thought, why should we why wait? Why wait? Why not buy a caravan and a four-wheel drive? Why not buy a boat? Why not move to the beach? And so they brought a lot of decisions forward.
I think that's probably one of the changes that, alongside my haircut, that happened in the property development space, Bob.
Yeah.
What about the property education space? Holy moly, there's been some changes there due to what happened, with the COVID thing.
Oh, yeah, property education, investment education, renovation education, property development, any form of property education. Because during the lockdowns, you couldn't go to live events. I mean, we had to cancel many of our live events. And
then we had to put it online, which was the first one was pretty horrendous. The last one was excellent, but the first one dodgy, as in one camera. Yeah. So as a result, everybody was jumping online. Yes. Do online courses. There's a big thing. There's a big push. A lot of people are out there peddling their wares, as it were, on Zoom, let's say, and it became what I call the era of the 5-minute expert, because we've got people with no history, not a lot of experience, all of a sudden on the airwaves, zooming away at putting together courses and flogging
putting together courses, putting together the idea that they're experts. I remember during that period of time, some podcast started. It was a property investment sort of podcast. Hey, look, good on the person for having a crack. Don't deny people having a go. But I happen to know him. He's just a local real estate agent, and he's not even the best real estate agent in the suburb. But nevertheless, he climbed on board, and next thing he's out there running podcasts and so forth and things on Zoom. And
but saying what was that like? Saying he was an expert on investing? Or saying he was
on the real estate market and
development?
investing, and he's got all of like 7 years experience, all of that during a boom period in one suburb, where he's ranked probably 5 or 6 in the suburb. But anyway, he's out there. Good luck. And that's what I mean by the 5-minute expert.
The whole online course thing has been pretty horrific, really.
Yeah, so in the old days, here we go.
The old days.
Old man
down,
talking
everyone.
about the old days.
Oh, dear.
You had to sort of build your credibility over time.
Yes.
Like I'm talking about pre-YouTube, pre-Instagram, pre-Zoom. I mean, Zoom only started in 2011. It's only 10 years ago.
Pre-Facebook.
And it only didn't start making a profit until 2017. So it is quite a new phenomenon in a way. But before that, and before YouTube, and particularly before Instagram, you sort of had to build up. Before you had to build up your credibility, and it took time. And by the time you actually build up your credibility, you actually had it.
Yeah.
Because now you can have instant credibility. It's a false type of credibility, but you can have an instant credibility in what I call the 5-minute expert. So, anybody can open a Zoom account. Anybody can open
a Facebook account and hire a marketer.
Facebook account, even Instagram. I mean, you might take 200 photos. You just choose the best two.
Oh, there's so many editing tools out there.
You can touch them up, So it's not really the real thing anymore, And so we've seen a lot of that happening, and a lot of online stuff.
We've done even, ourselves. We put you. Because in the past, you've stood in front of hundreds. What's the biggest audience you've had while you've been teaching on stage?
Oh, the biggest audience I've spoken in front is probably about 9,000 or 10,000.
There you go.
And what's the result of that? Well, the result of that is, in my opinion, that you have to be careful.
Yeah.
You have to be selective. You have to do your research and not just get suckered in by some pretty Instagram photos, terminology that people use when they describe themselves. I mean, even testimonies, seriously, ours are genuine, but it's not hard to make them up.
No.
And how do you know?
Oh, there is a thing. I listened to a podcast a while ago about how you can tell if they aren't genuine. But I suppose, like you just said there, the whole how much experience you have, because we have about over 70%, I believe, of the people who come and do the Property Mastermind property development course have done other courses, and they come because they realise they didn't get what they needed. So often they say, I don't even know where to start, or they've already done somebody else's, because the experience or the person they're learning from doesn't really have. Would you agree there?
Yeah, well, probably. I mean, you're often on the front line of talking to those people even more than I am. But it is a fairly high percentage. I liken it a bit like this. If you want to learn something like property investment, I mean, it's not that complex, really. There's basic principles. And the thing is, even if you don't make a great investment, you've got time on your side. And markets sort of progressively move on. Property always goes up in value in the long term. So even if you don't buy smart at the beginning, time's just going to make up for it.
Yeah.
And then you take a step up from that, you might be talking about renovating. Well, it's a bit like that too, because there's a lot of property investment component in a renovation. Like you think of a cosmetic renovation, which is what most of them are. It's a bit of a, touch up. Bit of a lick, paint new carpet, maybe.
Oh, mate, I'm the queen.
You are the queen.
I love a good reno.
Can't beat a good reno.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even if you got that a bit wrong, the underlying value is that of a property investment. All you've done is tart up the house.
Tart up.
But the...
Bit of a tragic word.
Well, there you go. But I'm a property developer. But property development, it involves quite a lot of money. And you're often creating a whole product, e.g. going from an old house to knocking it down and building 3 or 4 townhouses, let's say, and you don't have a lot of time. You don't have time usually for the market to make up for your mistakes.
And the reason for that is because of finances. Yeah, there's money
finance and the short period of time. You think of a typical free townhouse project. It's going to take somewhere between probably 16 and 24 months, depending on how slow councils are to approve things mainly, and maybe how slow or fast the builder is. It doesn't give you a lot of market time to make up. The investment, you didn't buy really well. Well, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it'll catch up, pass it in your own way. You don't have a lot of time. You've got to get property development right.
It's a bit more crucial.
And there's a lot more moving parts.
Yeah. And I think with if we go back to the change in the property education space, a lot of the new experts have done a few projects. And I mean, it's not hard to say you've done, what? Give me some examples here, 5 projects or something, and what's that worth? It's easy to say I've done how many million.
Well, if you did 4 or 5 projects of the same sort of project in the one city, in the one cycle, you haven't really learnt any more than doing one, because if you did 4 or 5 townhouse projects in Brisbane or Adelaide or anywhere you want to think about, in a rising market, you've learnt the process of how to do a property development, but you haven't learned how to solve the problems that can come up because you have actually had very few problems. You know, it's pretty easy. In some cases, I've seen projects where, you know, my dog could just about do them, you know, really. You know, and the market sort of carried them up.
About here somewhere.
But, you know, it's quite different. And to really, I mean, property development, if everything works perfectly, it's easy. Oh, well, it's easy. I mean, you've got to get all the moving parts right. You've got to get your processes right. But, you know, it's what you learn in the tough times that makes you a real developer, in my opinion. And maybe I'm a bit hard on some people, but developing in different locations, you learn a lot.
Yeah.
Developing in different phases of a property cycle, not just when it's going up and it's easy, but what about when it's flattened, or what about when it's going down? What about in times of, you know, where interest rates are really high? What about times when there's a recession? What about at times when there's high unemployment? What about times when it's really hard to get finance? You know, a lot of people haven't been through that stuff.
And not just that, even like small council issues, you know, when they change zoning on you or they get strict for some reason, or like when one of your consultants just takes forever, drags it out. Like there are so many little things that, you know, that happen, and you can't know what to do. Like, how many calls do we get when it's too late?
No.
You know, what do I do now? And because they're just doing it on their own and winging it, and then Google who to ask when there's a problem.
Yeah. It's funny how, because of our profile, like, people often contact us when they're in a bit of trouble, and it's either they haven't got any education or they went somewhere where it wasn't sufficient and they end up knocking on our door. How often does that happen?
But even the wording on how long someone's been in property, you know, that's a bit of a trap. But I mean, I can say I've been in property for 30 years because I bought my first house at 18, but I haven't been property developing for 30 years at all.
No, you see, I mean, that's part of your due diligence, it's seeing through things, you know. If somebody says, I've been in property and development for 30 years, that means nothing to me. What's that mean? They bought their first house 30 years ago?
And then they did Bob's course from 2012.
What about property development? You know, how many have you done? Where have you done them? During what markets have you done them? I mean, if somebody's done, like I said before, you know, 3 or 4 projects in a rising market in one place, they've learnt the process, but they haven't learnt what to do when there's problems because they haven't had the problems yet. But the problems will come in due course, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm probably a bit hard, but I don't consider anybody to be like what I'd consider to be a top shelf or an experienced developer until you've done 100 million. Now, it might sound like a big number to people, but I've seen too many people that are out there saying 20 and 30 million, and really they've just done exactly what I said. It's been a rising market. It's been in the one place, you know. It's been in times of, you know, when the market's carried them. I've seen the market save lots of people, but investors and developers to a degree. But that's just what it is.
So it's part of the COVID change, the whole, we've got the new experts, and then they usually end up with us anyway.
Well, yeah, you know, if we're not the first place, we'll generally be the last port of call when all else fails.
You know, with that, Bob, what is it? I mean, I know you've made a lot of people very wealthy, and I know you've been known as the millionaire maker.
That's I don't even know where that started. He started first coining that expression.
I've seen it somewhere.
10 years ago, maybe. I don't know.
I think I watched you going on stage or something, and they introduced, and it's the millionaire maker. I remember sort of going, oh my goodness, Bob, is that you?
Yeah. Well, let me say, in terms of making money out of property generally, if you want to make the most money, where do you go? It's not a property investment.
No.
It's not renovating.
No.
It's property development. I mean, that's not rocket science. That's where most of the money's made. If you want to make big money, it's in property development. Even if you start off really small. Start off with a 2-lot subdivision, but start off. So if that's where most of the money is made, and that's what I teach, and I've been doing it for a long time. Like I started teaching people in the property area in 1989. So I've been around a while. So obviously I'm going to create a lot of millionaires because I'm teaching people how to make money in the most lucrative field there is in property. So it's sort of like a byproduct almost that I'm going to create lots of multimillionaires. I don't say millionaires anymore because it means nothing. People in Sydney that didn't lose their job and didn't die became automatic millionaires with the
with the latest
but didn't do anything smart to do it. So to me, it's like multimillionaires these days, isn't it?
I think sometimes I watch people go, I've just done another property development. I see stuff online and I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't you just say and Bob did it with you and held your hand and, we're supporting all the way through. That sort of I don't know. Can we talk about that on the podcast? Probably not. Sometimes I think you don't get enough kudos for what you do, and the level of care and commitment that you have for your people is just humongous.
Yeah, look, it's not something I go out. I mean, I don't do it for that reason.
No.
But you do see it. Sometimes I've even seen people on other stages, I'm thinking of a few people that have ended up being interviewed by other educators.
And they did your mentoring program and you taught them.
Yeah, exactly.
But they never say.
Well, they're not allowed to.
No.
Because the person interviewing them would know where they got their teaching and their experience from. But he said, don't say it because it's obviously contradictory.
And they run out of people to interview.
Yeah, I've seen so many people interview people that we've interviewed.
But even people that you've taught, and then they have
it's funny
that's
business.
interesting.
Or they jump up on Facebook and say, and you get an ongoing, story through their development, but they don't say that, you got them over the line, or I got them over, or I taught them or whatever else. But that's okay. I mean, it's not why we do it. But it's funny. I think I don't know, there's a bit of ego in there, I think,
And maybe, I don't know why, I look at it and I'm like, why can't you just say, what Bob's done for you? I do often see that. And I've listened to other podcasts.
You're protective over me.
Oh, no, to me it's just, why can't you just say it? Why can't you just say, thanks so much. But I mean, I suppose the people who do, the likes of Sean Hayes, who he often refers people to come and, and join the mentoring program, or, he always sends people here. So, we thank Sean Hayes for that. Yeah, you shall be.
Yeah, and others like Sean. I mean, Sean's a good operator.
Yeah, he is a good operator.
Yeah,
doing very well in
Where did
Sydney.
He learn property development?
What's that, sorry?
Where did he learn property development?
Yeah, he learned it from you, but he doesn't not say.
But he sends people to us because he knows
that they learn properly.
That's where you go to get the results.
Yeah, totally.
Good on you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose we've used the word mentoring quite a bit. But what makes a good property mentor, Bob? What makes you so good, do you think? What makes you such a good property mentor, apart from your ridiculous level of knowledge and a ridiculous level of experience? Why are you good at it? Because you are very good.
Well, you said what makes a good mentor. I mean, you probably answer this better than I could. What's the difference between a coach and a mentor?
A mentor, you teach the technical and you teach them how to fish, in my opinion. Like, you teach somebody how to fish. The coach is more the mind journey, the taking of the action, the next step required. Whereas, I mean, we you and I kind of cross over on that. Mm-hmm. But I believe that's how it works. Like, the coaches, for me, it's more, what is your plan for the week, and are you taking those steps, and giving them that level of self-belief that they can do it. Just saying the right things, listening to what their problem is right then, like listening to what they need, and sometimes offering solutions. But a lot of the time, a good coach will get people to come to their own solutions, because you're more than likely to take action and do things if it's your idea. That's neuroscience tells us that. That's not my opinion. So I will always try and get somebody to come to their own resolve. But if they're stuck on something, I can help them. And if it's very technical, as in if it's in a property development technical and I don't know the answer, it's definitely a you thing. But I think you're a bit more
mentoring.
You teach the technical.
Well, I teach the technical. I try and make it a holistic thing, I think, like within, say, mentoring program as opposed to a course. But I look at the person, and I mean, part of your conversation with them is, where do they want to go? Where do they want to be in 2 and 5 years, and that sort of thing. But I look at it. Yeah, I'll teach the technical, the how-to, right down to the micro, which is important. But I'm looking at their whole life as well. Is this a career move? Do they? I mean, we've had people that come out of a mentoring program and go, well, I think of one person, who it is. They've got a role now as a general manager in a property development, a commercial industrial property development company. So that was their sort of move, and they still do their own projects on the side.
But that wasn't his thing was just to get into property development, but then he got poached and he was transitioning anyway. That was a cool story.
Yeah, so I try and look at a holistic sort of thing, the person, not just the how to do the technical as well. And I sort of, you hear of other fields that have mentors, the legal field, the medical field. When young interns, young doctors come in, they often have a mentor who's a doctor. And they've already learned a lot at uni. So what do they do? Well, they teach them the finer, I was going to say parts of the art of property development, the finer points of that. but they take a real interest in the person as an individual. And I think that's probably the difference.
I listen to you teaching, like when you do extra training with people, or even if it's one of their mentoring students and they're stuck on something, and I'll be like, oh, they're having an issue with finance. Well, they don't quite get, there's something going on here. And I'll hear you talk to somebody, and I often think, oh my goodness, it's just, to me, it sounds so obvious, but maybe I've heard it so often. I think the way you teach just really gives people a massive level of confidence. So I think you teach at a very low level. That you build on it gradually, so that it's not too big for their brain to understand. You come in really low, and maybe some people initially for the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes of something you're doing might think, oh yeah, I got that. But you build. I think you layer it. That's what you do well. You layer the way you teach.
And that'll depend on where they are themselves, because people that, let's say, come into our mentoring program come from all walks of life and have different levels of experience. So they could be a builder who's got lots of building experience. Let's say, well, I'm not going to teach him much about building, or her, but depending on where they are. So I try and go back to basics. If they know very little about finance, I'll take it all the way back. And then sort of build it up. Yeah, you're right, building it up in layers. Haven't thought of that before.
No, me either. It just kind of came to me because when I hear you, I'm like, that's just so obvious to me. But I realise that you're kind of layering and you reiterate, and I think that just gives a massive level of confidence for people.
Confidence is big.
Oh, it's the game.
I've often said property development's a confidence game.
That you've heard it here first.
Oh, not here first. I think I've said it a long time
ago.
You've
said it ages. I know you've said it, but I just like to say that from now on because
it's funny. Hear it here first.
Yeah.
So there you go. All those changes. Well, I'm going to do what you normally do.
What, Bob?
What's the wrap here? How are we
going to wrap this up? Well, this is coming out on the 20th of January, so the goal setting's tonight. Will you be doing the goal setting?
I'll be tuning in. I do.
Tuning in?
No, I have goal setting. I need to do goal setting as much as anybody. And we all have goals and aspirations, things we want to achieve. Doesn't matter where we are. I'm not static. I'm not
Bob Anderson static, please.
Fully content.
I've never seen you sit still for long, apart from when you're eating. Otherwise he's on the move.
Yeah,
and always learning.
No, but I'll be tuning in for sure. Setting some goals for the year.
Some fishing inclusive goals.
That'll be part of it. Life balance, all those things that you need.
Yes, life balance. Yes, kicking off, rocking through that retirement village.
Yep, powering on with that one.
Yes, and
exciting things education-wise in 2022 that we have on our whiteboard that we're going to roll out.
Yes,
and that's all part of our mutual goal setting.
Jump on the YouTube channel, start subscribing to that. You're in for some big treats there from Bob Anderson.
And Hilary Saxton.
Yeah, we've got some big stuff going on this year. So I think that's the wrap. That's the wrap. We've got a lot going on. There's been a few changes. It started with my haircut. We went into property development. We went into the 5-minute experts. We went on to mentoring.
Watch those 5-minute experts.
Watch the experts. Due diligence. And we'll catch you next week for episode 34. Exciting. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.